We always look forward for an opportunity to spend some time with Noah Rothman, HotAir.com, taking time out of his morning for us. Noah, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on the show. Well, the Hillary email chat's all over the place, but Scott and I talked earlier, the thing we need to be on guard for, not what was in those emails or what was deleted or what was hidden. We need to be on guard for Republican overreach.
Oh, yeah, that's extraordinarily predictable. You can already see it happening. Game Change author Mark Halperin tweeted helpfully last night, very, very helpful, that the Clintons' best ally is Republicans who go too far in their attacks. And he seems to forget the fact that the Clintons don't define what too far an attack is. Mark Halperin defines what an attack that goes too far is, and his colleagues in the press. And his colleagues in the press are desperate to move on from this topic, and they will subjectively define any Republican attack, including just merely noticing the Clintons' ethical lapses, to be too far, and will shift their focus to Republicans' pounce on revelations of unethical behavior.
Jennifer Epstein at Bloomberg Politics, which is where, coincidentally, Mark Halperin works, has a piece up this morning, the Hillary camp's rationale for staying quiet. Her plan is to have the one tweet, and not say anything else about it until she announces for president, thinking by that point it'll calm down and it'll be overshadowed by the announcement she's going to run for president. But in the piece, Epstein says an added benefit to this approach of not answering questions, not talking to the media, not doing anything is the potential for Republicans to overreach and overreact while Clinton stays silent, which is pretty much, I don't want to say marching orders, but we know that there are some out there simply waiting for it to happen, waiting for someone, some low-level county board member in the middle of Alabama to say anything that they can take the focus away from Hillary.
Yeah, and that's unavoidable, right? Because as you've defined it, it's so subjective. The target is, the goalposts are always moving, so that threshold will be crossed. Unless Republicans are just completely silent, turn mute, that threshold will be met by someone. And then it's incumbent on the press to create a fracas out of a Republican comment. They never seem to notice that they play a role in that process. But that's accurate. That's 100% true. And the press is looking to resurrect this double standard, a very predictable double standard. But a double standard is, as I've said, a standard nonetheless. And Republicans do have to abide by that and be aware of the fact that they could derail this scandal coverage really quickly. I have a piece up today on Hot Air that quotes something written by Florida political strategist Rick Wilson, who said, very plainly and clearly and smartly, in fact, that Republican politicians should just not really be talking about much about this scandal, about how it developed, about where the information came from. They're free to raise issues about it, about the Clintons' ethical lapses, about the net threat to national security. That's fine. But let the heavy lifting be done by columnists and bloggers like myself, who will note that this information only came up because of the Benghazi investigation, which we were told was a complete waste of time, and that this is nearly identical to the Rose Law Firm of billing records that just mysteriously disappeared, and it's very similar Clinton behavior to what we've come accustomed to the 1990s. That's our job. But if a Republican politician were to say anything along those lines, the press would jump right on them.
Noah Rothman with us from HotAir.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at Noah C. Rothman. I was going to ask you about the Rick Wilson piece. You retweeted it last night and have a piece this morning up at HotAir.com, too. Rick Wilson is a pretty sharp GOP media guy. Just says, as you mentioned, just be quiet. Let others fill in the blanks, do the investigating, and when you do talk, make sure it's to the point of, hey, we're just concerned about national security, about classified information, about the potential for hacking. We're concerned about the national security implications on this. Do you agree with that advice from Rick Wilson?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. He was really quite sharp because as he put his finger on, the press is really eager to find some way out of this coverage that they've locked themselves into. It's not going the way it normally goes. This kind of Clinton scandal fatigue is really quite evident in how this story has sort of a momentum of its own. It's self-perpetuating. And normally, these kind of things die down. But the gravity of this scandal, the fact that the Secretary of State might have jeopardized American national security, in order to purely and solely protect her own self-entitlement and privilege is career-destroying. It really could just set the Democratic Party adrift. The implications are significant, very significant. So they're going to bring all their forces to bear to prevent that. And that would include, making sure that they can deflect from this scandal in any way possible, and Republicans present the best target for that. Rick's right. You need to keep everybody quiet for a certain period of time. And in fact, probably perpetually, because the press is doing more damage to Clinton than a Republican ever could.
And that's the kind of thing that makes this kind of jump out as an anomaly. You mentioned the Rose Law Firm records mysteriously disappearing, the big stack of FBI files sitting over there in the residence we weren't supposed to have, the travel office, all of these things kind of had a lifespan and were gone. What makes this one feel different, Noah?
Primarily because it didn't occur in a vacuum. In my opinion, it's just fascinating how nobody seems to know how this happened, how Clinton was able to evade Obama administration guidelines, State Department directives for 4 years as State Department, as America's chief diplomat, and then 2 years after she was out of office. None of this came to light. The Inspector General's office of the State Department had no idea. The State Department's Freedom of Information Act office had no idea. Nobody in the White House seems to know. Of course, the president was probably shielded from this information, but I can't imagine that everybody around him wasn't. That none of these red flags were ever raised. And in the process of doing this, she exposed, and technical experts have said it's a virtual certainty that her networks were compromised. And that would put American national security in jeopardy. So the implications are astounding, and they include everybody in this administration, perhaps up to and including the president. So it really is different insofar as that it's not about ethics or just trying to keep some damaging personal information out of the press, which is a Clinton standard. But this really is about malfeasance in office and the jeopardization of American national security. So it has stronger implications than, say, Whitewater or the Rose Law Firm.
Noah Rothman with us from HotAir.com, and follow him on Twitter at Noah C. Rothman. One day, at Noah Rothman will give up the ghost, Noah, and you'll get that handle back, huh?
Yes. I can't wait for that egg to just disappear.
There's a guy who
surrendered.
He's tweeted
popular opinion.
Tweeted 3 times and is never on, but he still has your handle, your rightful handle at Noah Rothman. Right now, at Noah C. Rothman for Noah. I know Hillary Clinton and those around her, Noah, think that they can wait this out. It'll die down. But doesn't she have to answer? Even the media that we like to poke at all the time, won't they demand, do you think, at some point, an answer to the simple question of why? Now, Occam's razor says the why is very easy here. She wanted to evade FOIA requests. She wanted to be as private as possible. She wanted to delete what might be damaging. That's the obvious Occam's razor answer to why. But won't there be a demand at some point for her to answer why she had a server in her home to handle Secretary of State emails?
It's actually already beginning. I predicted last night that the momentum of this scandal, the momentum of coverage of it, is leaning towards the very strong likelihood that if it survives the weekend, that starting on Monday you'll start to see a real push from members of the press to say Hillary Clinton needs to break her silence personally. And that actually began today with some friendly voices on MSNBC's Morning Joe. Apparently, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough determined that they're no longer interested in Hillary Clinton surrogates, just defending her as David Brock has, unconvincingly but vociferously. They want to hear directly from her. And I think that that's going to begin to mount. Again, presuming that Republicans don't derail this over the course of today, and maybe over the course of the weekend. But if they can avoid becoming the story themselves, I would imagine by early Monday you'll start to see people say Hillary Clinton needs to give up on this schedule that she's married to and come out early and strong and answer some serious questions, personally.
And, reading what David Brock's had to say over the past a few days over all of this has been really nothing short of embarrassing.
I mean, the guy has a mission in life, and he's certainly committed to it.
Everybody's got to have a job.
Oh, I'm serious. I mean, this is hackery at its finest here.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything as especially convincing from Brock or crew or priorities or any of the groups that are established under his banner that are designed solely to deflect criticism from the Clintons. Their criticism, their most effective means of deflecting criticism has been to say, well, there are people in the Republican Party like Jeb Bush and Chris Christie and Scott Walker, all of whom used private emails while they were in office. But that's not necessarily in violation of any directive. It certainly probably doesn't jeopardize national security as much as the Secretary of State does. And most critically, I would imagine, is that the Secretary of State's office has a series of guidelines, not only just the Federal Records Act, but the Obama administration and State Department since 2005 have prohibited the use of these emails. And moreover, you can Google Jeb Bush's emails. Jeb Bush has had a press conference. Jeb Bush has released a number of emails to the public. Hillary Clinton released 55,000 emails to the State Department for review, but you can't see them yourself. They're going through a process of review right now to make sure that she didn't jeopardize national security. So the transparency issue, there's no comparison. Republicans have been far more transparent when they've been caught up in issues like this using a personal address, whereas Hillary Clinton has been anything but. And where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
Noah Rothman with us. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. HotAir.com is where you find Noah's stuff. CNN had a piece yesterday. Don't ask Democrats about Clinton emails was the title. And I give them some credit because they actually did go and ask a bunch of senators and House members about the Clinton email scandal. But by and large, no one had anything to say at all. You had potential presidential candidate Bernie Sanders saying, I only know what I read in the newspaper. I just don't know. Elizabeth Warren was blocked by a staffer, shielded from the question, then climbed into an elevator without looking up. Now, Noah, judging by the new media Dana Milbank standard, both Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders now are disqualified from being president, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure Dan is penning that column right now with equal furor that he directed at Scott Walker. So just hold your breath on that one. But the fact that Democrats really haven't been able to come out strongly about this issue says everything you need to know about it. There really is no response, at least not yet. The appearance of malfeasance is pretty clear. There is no real defense of her actions today. Which is why everybody's trying to be quiet and hope the story just goes away. And as you said, Occam's razor points to a real clear reason for why she would do this and why she was allowed to get away with it. They just simply didn't think that A, she deserved to have that kind of oversight, and B, that nobody in the press would really push that hard, even if they did discover it. So all of this is happening the way they didn't think it would happen. This is all taking a lot of people by surprise, I would imagine. And we're still trying to figure out how they're going to behave with it. But if the scandal continues to mount and develop, there's a lot of Democratic voices who would like to fill the vacuum left by a defenestrated Hillary Clinton. So I can't imagine that they would stay silent forever. Again, the pressure is going to keep mounting, and if this comes to Monday and it's still at the place that we're at now, maximum overdrive, you might even see some Democrats begin to jump ship, prominent Democrats, and say that Hillary Clinton needs to bow out of the race.
Okay, another reason to stick through to the weekend. Come back on Monday and see what kind of stuff happened. Noah Rothman, as always, we appreciate the expertise, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day for us.
Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks.